So are we on? Why do women hate good men? Or do they really hate good men? That's something that we are going to discuss today. Do women hate good men? And why do women seem to love serial killers? So forgive me, I'm just checking my settings here because I've been having a lot of issues with the recording today. All right, everything seems to be working fine now. So let's jump into the topic. Do women love serial killers and do they hate good men? Why are we asking ourselves this question? We are asking ourselves this question because we see a very interesting dynamic in today's society. For the past decade at least, we've seen an acceleration in the changes of the ideology people have around male-female relationships, around the heterosexual relationships, around nuclear family. And after the recent pandemic, a lot of things sort of started moving up even faster. And we have an unprecedented number of males who say they are not happy, that they are depressed, they feel anxious, many don't want to live. And in various ways, the governments around the world have issued some kind of response. I'm not going to go too deep into that in this episode, but clearly there is something happening and you may be experiencing it yourself, and that's why you are here. If you are aware of what goes on in family courts, of course, you know how fathers often seem to get the worst deal, whether it's divorce or access to their children, and this is happening worldwide. But how so? How is this possible when a lot of the guys we see today seem to be good men? Right? So your typical divorce story, for example, is from the guy's perspective, he does everything he can to provide for his family, he protects his family, he gives up on his own wants and needs in order to make his wife happy, in order to make the woman in his life happy. Then we have a guy who is on trial for killing somebody, and then he gets thousands of letters from women all over the world, very attractive women at that too, sending naked pictures, telling the killer how much they love him, how much they want him. If you go right now to any female watching Netflix, chances are she's watching a documentary on a serial killer and she's fascinated by him, right? You've never seen a documentary on a good guy that women say they want, that women say they love, that they claim they want, and women telling each other, look, there's this new documentary about this father and he was providing for his family and he loved her so much and he just took good care of her and she took good care of him. What we hear is the opposite. The good guy gets discarded and the woman ends up with some asshole who treats her horribly, right? And yet, women will choose to be with those guys. We've all seen videos on TikTok. We've seen, perhaps in our own lives, where a woman would rather be with a guy who doesn't treat her that well, from our judgment, rather than be with somebody who does treat her well. And we see this over and over again. And there's more and more videos of women saying they divorced a good guy. And some are happy about it, some are not happy about it, but most of them are not trying to get back to the good guy. And again, we don't see women writing thousands of letters to good guys. We don't see women camping on the lawn of a good guy saying, you're so good, you're such a nice provider, such a nice protector, we love you, here. And they throw their panties at you. We don't see that, but we see that for criminals, we see that for serial killers, we see that for men who seemingly break all the rules. So what's going on here? How do we deal with this dynamic? So I thought about this for a while, right? And I was asking myself a question. If it is true that being a protector and a provider is attractive to women, why do they go crazy for serial killers? Because as we said, yes, when you trying to marry a woman to be her husband, being a protector and provider seems attractive. But yet it's not enough to keep a marriage together. And even though a woman may marry you, it's very rare to see where a woman is actually going crazy for the good guy, right? Usually the good guy has to wine and dine her, buy her gifts, do her a lot of favors, work very hard before she commits her attention to him. Let me set my timer here. So I've been thinking about it so much. I was writing notes, like, why is this happening? So I'm fascinated by the idea of social engineering. One of my favorite authors is Edward Bernays. I haven't read him in a while, but he wrote books such as Crystallizing Public Opinion and perhaps his most popular work, Propaganda, which is what we know today in the Western world as public relations. And he talks about how you can influence the masses to think and act in a certain way. And he believed it so much that he actually advocated for that. He believed that the elites, or there should be an elite class who thinks for the masses, and that elite class then influences the masses to act on the ideas that the elites deem to be right for the population. And using propaganda or public relations is one way to do it. So one interesting technique that is used very widely today that he propagated is the use of the news media. And what you do is you have a news event, right? So that it's based on reality. And you use that news event to send a message to the people. And when people see the news event, they'll react to it and they will do whatever the elites think the masses should do. So as an example, we've had riots during the pandemic. We've had recent riots as well, all based on news events. So that is one way you could incite a riot, by making sure a certain piece of news is propagated. But on the daily basis, we see in the media men being portrayed in a very negative light, right? Now, you may think that it is just a reflection of reality, but I would argue that there is a sinister secret in there that they use to manipulate not necessarily just the woman, but the men. Because anytime a young man, an older man sees somebody portrayed negatively in the news, it usually follows with a lot of female disapproval, right? Some channels are very heavy-handed with it, straight out criticism of all men. Some would just shake their head. Some would just say, we need to protect people from men and so on and so forth, right? But a guy who is sensitive to that, who wants to be a good person, looks at that and says, wait a minute, I don't want to be that bad guy. I don't want to treat people that way. I don't want to be seen that way. So I'm going to do everything I can to avoid that, which is not a bad thing in and of itself. But where the problem arises is when it keeps getting repeated over and over again. So then the narrative becomes that men are threats. And the best way for a man not to be a threat or not to be perceived as a threat is to disarm himself. And as such, he has to discard some of his masculine presence. Think about that for a moment. In order not to be seen as a threat, a man has to discard some of his masculine presence. For example, when you watch an old movie, when you have a factory worker going to see the boss or a director or the owner of the factory, he would come in, take his hat off, clutch it in his hands, and sort of shrink his body, right, to show that he is humble. Whereas the boss may, in the movie scene, may sit, wide open, might have open body language, taking up space. So he's taking up space rather than shrinking. And if you do that long enough, you will start feeling depressed, you will start feeling devalued, and you'll start losing your sense of self. Now, this has a cascading effect, a domino effect in your life. It affects your work, it affects your well-being, and it affects your relationships with women. Let's start with women. So when you discard these masculine qualities, like being present, like having a bit of arrogance about yourself, not because you feel better than other people per se, but just because you like yourself so much, you feel good about yourself, right? You feel good about who you are. But you discard that. So now when you're in a female presence, or in the presence of a female, you don't exude the kind of confidence that turns women on. It is just a natural thing. And if you've been fooled into thinking that being nice and sweet and gentle and polite will make her interested in you, then you double down on the nice guy behavior, right? So a lot of guys don't actually know they are being nice guys. So they are going through life depressed, dejected, feeling like dating is for them, not for them, that is unfair, and so on and so forth. Not knowing that they've been programmed to do the things that will actually take them out of the game. So they wrongly blame social media, because it's not really social media per se. It has an effect, but not the way people think. It's not really women's access to so much attention. It does have some effect, but it's negligible. Not even the fact that many women are unruly these days. No, those are not the reasons why. Because even if those women got their act together and became, let's say, submissive or loving and caring and really wanted to be wives, they still cannot be attracted to a man who is afraid to be himself. They cannot be attracted, they cannot get turned on by a man who is not fully present in his masculine essence. It's just impossible. It's the same thing the other way around, right? So when we have this boss girl, boss bitch, independent, strong woman, aggressive behavior, men don't find that attractive. Men find that repulsive. It's very unattractive to men. So those women also don't understand. They're like, are men intimidated by us? And the answer is no, men are not intimidated by you. Are men afraid of us? No, really, no. Maybe if you lie on them, but otherwise, no. So why aren't men attracted to those females? Because those females also discard their feminine traits in order to compete with men. The difference here, though, is society subsidizes women's existence. It doesn't subsidize that of male existence. Which brings us to a very important point, which is good guys end up doing a lot of favors for women that those women don't deserve. I've spoken to several guys over the past few weeks, and one thing they all had in common was each of them had taken at least 3 days out of their schedules to do something for a woman. So this could be building a cabinet, helping her move, doing some kind of handiwork in her house, or designing a website, or doing her end of year project at the university, or some other kind of task or set of tasks that requires a long period of time and a lot of concentration and a lot of effort, right? And several guys said this to me, and I come across this all the time. And what's interesting is none of them thought that they were typical nice guys. They all actually thought they were quite masculine doing that, because they think doing things for women is masculine. But on the flip side, all of them had another thing in common, which is all of them felt used. All of them felt used. None of the women actually showed appreciation. Not even so much as bring them some water or a meal during the break time, right? So let's say they are building something in the house, let's say a fireplace or a cabinet, And then after a couple of hours, the woman for whom they are doing this work would come in and say, oh, you must be thirsty, you must be hungry. Here, I made this for you. I hope you like it. Let me know if you need anything. Or just a coffee or something. No, not a cookie, nothing. Because we have a dynamic created in the society where males feel obligated, they feel obliged to do things for females, and females feel entitled to that, to the degree that they don't even think they really need to say thank you or that they do anything in return. So for example, if you have a female and you do her a favor, let's say you drive her for 4 hours, right? She needs to go somewhere, you drive her. So it took you 4 hours. Would she come into your place and spend an hour cooking for you because you need it? Would she clean for you for a couple of hours because you need it? Would she take 3 days out of whatever she is doing to spend time with you, helping you deal with something where you need help? And of course, the answer is no. Let's not even pretend. Let's not even pretend. It does not happen. A woman will cut you out of her life if she thinks you expect her to spend hours doing things for her. Of course, there are exceptions, but we are not dealing with the exceptions here today. We are dealing with the reality of how that is. And my contention is that this is by design. This is by design. So when men try to be good guys, they are playing into a role society created for them. They are playing into a character that would make them eligible for marriage, that they hope will give them sexual access, and potentially start a family. And when those things don't play out the way men hope for it to play out or wish that it would play out, then that's when they get frustrated. That's when they get dejected and feel rejected and unwanted and devalued. You see, when the society is set up this way, as it is in the modern times, it allows certain parties in society to maintain power and to make a healthy profit. Politicians can promise females that, look, you're going to be strong and free and independent, and you're going to have all these benefits from the society because you deserve it. For whatever reason, you deserve it. And those women also need to get paid, right? Because they are independent. So they need to have their own money so that they don't depend on men, which in and of itself is not necessarily a bad thing. The problem is, how is that money given to them? So an obvious resource is a divorced man, or a man who fathers children, right? So now he is forced to subsidize the woman's lifestyle to give her an extra amount of money with the pretense that it's for the children, where we all know that it's not really for the children, or it's not for the children at all, but it's just for her to have a better and more comfortable lifestyle, right? So it's subsidized. She's giving it just like that. When she gets a large alimony or half of the man's assets, even if she didn't have to put the same kind of effort into getting those assets, the government gives her what she wants. Therefore, that woman will continue voting for the man. And then you ask, when I say for the man, for whoever the politician is, which could be a woman. But then you would ask yourself, okay, but why do they need to do that? Why don't they just let men have the power? The problem is, men like to create way more than we like to consume. We have a natural drive to build, to create, and to make things. That's why at least 80% of consumer spending is by women or for women, right? So if you don't give the money to the woman, nobody's going to be spending it. So a lot of businesses that are in existence today cannot exist because men would not buy those things. When you go to a supermarket or you go to a shopping mall, most of the shops are for women. Even when there are sections for men, they're usually smaller. There's like a corner or a little section. Whereas the women's sections are sometimes 2, 3, 4, 5 floors. And then it's one shop after the other, right? So that gives you an example. There's another part to it. You want to control society. You want to be able to have a grip on society without using too much force. So if you control the men, that ensures that it's very unlikely that there's going to be any kind of rebellion, which every now and then there is a problem when it explodes, like we see in the riots, which is usually males who are predominantly participating. But overall, you can control those males. But also, by devaluing the male contribution, you can have an equivalent monetary amount and give that to the females. So for example, if you spend a week helping a woman move, refurbish a place, getting it ready, and you do it for free, you've saved her potentially thousands of dollars, if not hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, right? Doing all that work for her. Money that she does not have or that she wants to spend on a bag. Another example, Esther Villar talks about this in her book, The Manipulated Man. And she gives an example of a guy who stops on the highway or on the motorway, whatever, and he helps a woman fix her tire. He changes a tire or something like that. And she drives off like, oh, you're so sweet. She drives off. He'll never ever see her again in his life. But then now he's all dirty and late for his own errands. And she does not care about that. She does not care if he needs anything. She's not saying, oh, shall I go, I'll drive, I'll meet you one day, send you a coffee, something. She doesn't feel obliged to do anything. She feels entitled to it. So, in effect, again, there's nothing wrong with men doing things for women. But when there is no exchange, it's not an equal exchange, it's not a symbiotic relationship, but it's more of a parasitic relationship where the woman is the parasite. That leaves men feeling unworthy. So, whilst there is a lot of things done, to address the mental health issues that many males are facing, that doesn't matter because we are not addressing the root cause. And nobody wants to address the root cause at this stage because it has really come far. It has really become bad. So much so that the entitlement is almost beyond comprehension. The females actually think men owe them. And again, one easy way to know if you're doing the right thing is ask yourself if you do this for a friend who has your back. Because there are guys who would not help their male friends move, but they will spend 3 days helping a woman they just met and have known her for less than an hour. Many guys do this. It's common. It's very common. So, women are aware of this, one way or the other. So here's the thing. When you present yourself as a good guy, in their minds, very often, what it is that they're getting their own free labor, their own free protection, for which they don't have to do much. So yes, they will want you in their lives. Yes, they will want, you to perhaps be a husband. But don't mistake that for them being attracted to you, or for them appreciating you. Because empirical evidence shows us that those things are not what women really want. Now, don't get me wrong. If you want a family, of course you have to protect them. Of course you have to provide for them. It's what you do. The question here is, do men really find women who are worthy of that protection? Do they find women who actually deserve to be provided for? And in at least 70% of the cases, the answer is no. How do we know? Because in 70% of the divorces, the woman just does not appreciate anything, and she just wants to leave and take what she can with her. So now let's contrast that for a moment before we come back to this with a guy they see on TV or a serial killer, right? Now, women don't think the same as men do when it comes to romance. We are very different. That's why women don't buy men flowers. And that's why women generally don't approach men. They seek dominance, they seek leadership, they seek some kind of value that is above themselves. They want to look up to the man. So again, good guys are trained to look up to women, and women then look down on them. That's just the automatic dynamic. But when we have a guy who is on death row or on trial for 2 murders of women that he strangled, and he's still calm, collected, the woman finds that attractive. Even when they claim they don't, they still do. And how do we know? We look at their actions, not their words, which is one of the important takeaways of today. Look at what she's doing, not what she's saying. If she says thank you but would not do something for you, she didn't mean it. She's not grateful. She's not grateful. She's just saying it because she wants to keep you appeased. But a lot of the times, the men that we see who, by societal standards, are bad guys, they allow themselves to be masculine. I'm not saying they are great examples of how to be a man or anybody should emulate them. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, the difference is they allow themselves to be threatening. Right? Being threatening and being a threat are two different things. And to be fair, every man is a threat. That's our nature. Every human being is a threat. A man, woman, child is a threat. Human beings are predators, right? We kill animals to eat them. Right? Yes, we live in civilized society, but we are still predators. We eat meat every day, flesh of weaker beings on this planet. So let's not pretend that we are, angels walking around innocently. So being a threat is a man is a threat. You can't protect if you can't be a threat, right? How do you protect somebody if there's no threat or no danger? Right? So even for the sake of protection, you have to be somewhat threatening somehow. Again, which is not the same as threatening people indiscriminately. You have to be selfish. Why do you have to be selfish? Well, you have to take care of yourself. You have to take time out just for you. How can you become stronger if you don't feed yourself? How do you become more powerful if you don't get power? In the situations where you have to surpass others, which there are valid places for that, let's say you're an athlete, as a simple example, you have to have those qualities of competition and dominance, which is again one of the reasons why women love athletes, right? Because athletes have that dominance. They compete. They express themselves. They win. They win. So it's not just about money. Justin Bieber is not the richest guy on earth, or Chris Brown is not the richest guy on earth. But I'll bet you there's more women going crazy for him than for Elon Musk, who is the richest man on earth. Which is not to say women would not be interested in him, Elon Musk. But you don't see women buying posters of Elon Musk and hanging it in their rooms. You just don't see it. So it's not just money. If money was the thing that made women want to stay faithful with men or just to be with men, if it really was the case, then why would women married to rich guys or who have rich boyfriends cheat with broke guys who work in the home, the handy guy, the pool boy, the janitors? Like, I don't want to say stories because people would go crazy, but you would be surprised who women sleep with when nobody's looking. You see, the reason why I'm making this video, this show today, what I'm really trying to say to you is there's a reality that we see, that we are used to, that is the official reality, right? And then there's the reality that is the actual reality, which is what most men miss. And if we want to solve the problems of male loneliness, male depression, and the problems that we have with men not wanting to live, then we have to address this. But it's really bad. It's really bad. Because even the words I'm saying today, I know are against what the current accepted politically correct rhetoric is. Excuse me. I know that what I'm saying is against what's acceptable. But I still have to do it, and I have to go even deeper into this to help us out as men. Because the problem is that the mental health problems we face and the depression we feel and the anger we feel and the frustration we feel, all that comes from being devalued as men. But the good news is we can stop a lot of it. Some men cannot be saved. A lot of men cannot be saved, and I'm not really bothered about those guys. And the reason why I'm not bothered about those guys is because when you wake up, when you become stronger as a man, more attractive as a man, more powerful as a man, those same guys will try to pull you down because they think that will gain favor with women. So they will point fingers at you because they think that's what will make women like them. They will take a pat on the head from the female. They will take a pat on the head from the female and throw you under the chariot just to look good. And they want to be seen as the good guys. You see, so my position is that the whole argument of being a good guy or bad guy is irrelevant. You just be the man you are, and that's it. You don't need a stamp or a label from society in order to get what you want in life. And you have to be willing to get what you want in life, even if everybody around you does not like it. As long as you're doing it with ethics, you're doing it legally, and you're doing it in good faith, then it doesn't matter what people think about you. It's just their opinion, to which they are, of course, entitled. Now, there are other ways that men are conditioned in society to be used and manipulated by women. And one of those ways is when women use sex as the carrot, right? So a man thinks if he does enough nice things for a woman or gains a favor, then she'll have sex with him. On the flip side, once he gets married, there's a stick. And what's the stick? The threat of divorce, the threat of losing access to his children, the threat of losing at least half, if not all or most, of what he has worked for all his life. So that's the stick. So what he will lose is the stick, and usually the sex is the carrot. So now this guy in a marriage is completely, almost without any will, because he's afraid of going against her, because then she'll not sleep with him. And often she does it like maybe once a month, once every 2 months. I've come across cases where they haven't had sex with each other for 15 years. He's still sticking in there because of the stick. He is afraid he will lose half his stuff and then access to the kids. And that's a miserable way to live. So I wouldn't blame that guy for being depressed or wanting to end it. And most guys don't understand that truly the real solution is to walk out of that situation, is to fight for your kids in family courts, which is what I help fathers to do, which is what I did, which was I had to do for quite a while. I was in court for many years, or in and out of court. And you just have to do it, because that's the only way you're going to find peace with yourself. You don't want your kids to look at you, lose value, lose your self-worth, because they can sense it. And that's going to be the foundation of their self-esteem. That's going to be the basis on which they build their own image, because it's subconscious. The father is the primary creator of the children's identity. That's why in homes where there's no father, we see an identity crisis. That's why we have all this identity politics, because there's not enough male authority, father figures, and actual fathers in children's lives. So that's why we see everything going crazy about identity, because the most important person to form an identity is the father, because the father is the rock, is the baseline to reality, right? Because as men, we don't have a choice. Very often we have to deal with harsh realities. But for some reason, when it comes to these females, we abandon this reality. And we really just allow ourselves to be used. We allow ourselves to be used. And again, even guys who would claim that they are solid guys, that they are masculine, or they tell themselves that they are minds, still cower when a woman wants them to do something. So that's something we have to sort out. I'm just thinking, because I remember one guy, and I think I've mentioned this before, and I saw this. He was quite successful, it was a while back, many years ago, quite successful, especially for his age, nice car, owned properties, building up his business, earning a lot of money and so forth. And this female wanted him to drive down and cook for her, because it was this specific dish she wanted to eat that he knew how to make. This guy drove to another town. He got groceries. He cooked the food, right? So we are talking 2, 3, 4 hours in. And then she's like, oh yeah, she's tired, she's going to bed. Not even thank you, not even like a proper show of gratitude. And that was it. He was meant to go back home, whence he came from. Drive back an hour or two, just so that she could eat what she wanted to eat. And it baffles my mind why someone would do such a thing. Why someone would see himself as so low as to do that. What would he get in return? Let's say even if it was sex, like, is sex worth all that? When it's supposed to be a mutual thing? You see, so when I think of things like that, and later I can imagine him driving back all by himself, sitting in his house, feeling depressed, feeling unappreciated, feeling devalued, discarded, unwanted, uncared for. And if he does not know that that is a wrong dynamic, he may think, which happens often, that, oh, I wasn't nice enough. I wasn't good enough. I didn't do enough. Oh, I should have made the food better. I should have driven faster. I should have done this, that, the other. And he's stuck in that cycle. And many husbands are stuck in those cycles. Boyfriends, People are stuck in those dynamics with their family. So that's why we need more men to wake up. We need more men to wake up and to build up the world to be a better place. It will only come if we start setting those boundaries for ourselves. We can't have more depressed men, more men ending it. We can't have that. That's not helping anybody. So what are some of the traits that we're talking about? So I mentioned a few, but let's go over the list and I'll add some more. So these traits are often portrayed in a negative light. It's often portrayed that those are things women don't want in men, but again, we see it opposite. And again, you don't want to do things just for women, because then that's just being weak still. You just want to be yourself regardless of women. You have to trust that being a man is a good thing, that is good for you, first and foremost, and it's good for the world. So what are these traits? So like I said, selfishness. There are times you have to be selfish. There are times you have to demand people to give you things. Like I'm demanding attention right now because I believe my message is important, right? It's everybody's choice to listen or not to listen, but I will still share my message regardless of what everybody thinks or feels about it. This is my message. So you could say I'm selfish because I don't care what anybody thinks about what I'm saying. Yes, I want feedback. I want your ideas. I want to learn from you. But I'm not doing this because I care about your opinion. I do it because I care about you. I want you to get a better result. I want you to succeed. I want you to say, hey, I listened to John Paul from bravefathers.com and he helped me find my way out of my depression. Yes, then that's something that I want. You may think it's selfish, right? Sometimes I want time to myself. So I'll turn off my phone, I'll turn off everything for, let's say, a day. And that's it. That's what I've done. Because I want that time only to myself. Being selfish does not mean you go out and take from people. It means you make clear what you demand if you demand something, but it also means you give to yourself and you create a space for yourself. You don't have to think of how it benefits other people. You only have to think about how it benefits you. You have to be selfish. Right? It's like when you're thirsty and you're drinking water, you shouldn't be drinking the water for the benefit of others. But that's the problem with men today. We think everything we do has to be for the benefit of others. No, it can be for your benefit and your benefit only. You don't have to always serve people. You have to serve yourself too. And you have to stop worrying that you are taking from somebody when you're not. Right? So the selfishness is important. Dominance. What does that mean? You have to be able to assert your will in certain places. And sometimes your will has to be above other people's will. It's just the way it is. It does not mean bully people. Of course, that's not what I'm saying. But an example would be if, say, a woman wants me to do some handiwork for her, she'll have to pay. Right? There are some few women that I would do it without charging money. But those are women who have proven themselves to me. They've proven to me that they are worthy of my input, of my work for them. They've earned that right. And it took them many years to earn that right. There are very few. I can count them on my one hand. And interestingly enough, none of them have ever asked me for that kind of favor. Right? You have to be dominant. You have to, let's say I'll give you an example. There was this Big Brother show where there was a competition and it came down to one guy and one female. And the guy won and everybody was upset that he won. and that he wouldn't give up his prize to the girl, which was stupid because it's a competition. Right? So you have to be able to say no, like, I want this, I'm keeping my money, I'm keeping the prize. You have to stand your ground. You can't be the nice guy who says, oh, you can have it because for some reason your life is more important than mine. No. You have to follow through with your ideas. If you have a plan for yourself or for what you want, you have to do it. You have to do it. Like, I have my plans. There are things I want to create. There are things I want to publish. There are people I want to help. And I do all I can to follow through. I know people don't like me helping fathers in family courts. I know people don't like it. But I've given myself a goal of doing this for a certain period of time and to help a certain number of fathers. As long as, of course, I also meet my other personal goals. But I'm following through. That's why I'm here. There are things, there are projects that I'm building, and I'm following through, even though my family, my friends, people that know me, some of them think I'm crazy about to do those things, or to think I'm going to make those things happen. So I don't even talk to them about those things. But you have to follow through. Like, I'm not saying be a serial killer, but the fact that they follow through on the crazy ideas, which are wrong, but that's part of what women find attractive, that they actually followed through, they actually did it. Again, I'm not saying that's a good thing to emulate, right? Like, don't be stupid enough to do something stupid, because just being, doing things just for women to want you is crazy. That's insane too. That's still weak, right? And it's an illusion, because those same females, I'm sure some of them would want to date such a guy, but others might be too scared if it came to reality. Nonetheless, I'm just saying, it's not a rational thought process. So following through is attractive. So is action in general. Take action on things you want. Do things. Again, do things for yourself. Yes, it's okay to do things for people who deserve it. If you do want to help a female and you expect compensation, you let her know. You say, listen, I'll help you move, but next week you're coming to clean my apartment, or you're going to meal prep for the next 3 weeks for me, or for the month, if I do this for you. And if she says no, you say, all right, then I can't. And invest that time into yourself. Again, back to the selfishness part. And you have to stand your ground, even if it means losing her, because what are you really losing? You see, a lot of guys don't ask themselves, what do I lose if she walks away from me? What? What really do you lose? Hope? A pat on the head? A sense of what? Ego, that a female thinks you're a hero? No. And your leadership is important. You have to be willing to lead. And you have to be willing to let go of people who will not follow. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. And, I've had females walk out of my life because they didn't want to follow my leadership. And guess what? I let them keep walking. When they come back, they can't come back because you already walked. Leadership is important. Remember, you're a man. You are not just an ordinary being. You have a vision, you have a plan, and you're moving towards it. So it's normal for females to follow you. Yes, I'm sure they have their plans too, but that's not my concern. I'm not concerned with their plans. I'm concerned with my plan. Right? I'm concerned with getting men to a better place, to have a time. Let's bring back the times when men were respected. People are saying, like, where are all the men? Where's the respect for all the men? Where's the appreciation? Where's the gratitude? So we need that leadership back. We need real male leadership, not these weasels that we have in power today that just want to show women that they're likable and nice. You know, we need to be done with this. We need to be done with this, and we do this by doing things first. So that's where the leadership comes in. Leadership also means you go first. Again, I'm here doing this video, right? Regardless of whether 100 people watch it or 1,000,000 people watch it or one person watches it or nobody watches it. I'm still doing the video because that is what my leadership requires, that I bring this message forward. So in your life, you have things to do that regardless of how many other people appreciate it, you have to lead. You still have to do them. And those who want to follow you will follow. Now, this shouldn't be controversial, but it is. Your sexual desire, you have to respect it. You know, a lot of guys feel bad about wanting to sleep with a woman. Like, I don't see why you should feel bad about desiring a woman. They'll say, oh, you think she's an object. No. That's what the narrative is. But no, you just want to sleep with her. And if she doesn't want to sleep with you, then you walk away from her forever. You never speak to her again. You never make any move on her. I'm not saying go around indiscriminately making moves on women. No. When you talk to a woman, let's say you meet up in a bar, wherever you're on a date, and then you want to make a move and you want to make it sexual, you let her know, right? You can be as polite and nice about it as you want to be, but if that's what you're looking for, it's fair to let her know. And it's fair to immediately stop any further pursuit when she shows she's not interested, right? You're not asking her for anything that you're not giving in return. And if she doesn't want that from you, that's great. That's great. You see, there is controversy around this topic, and I would have to do a deeper dive into this because I'm seeing a lot of signs of how society wants to treat male sexual desire these days. And it's not good. So I'll have to really think about it and see what the message is in there exactly. But for now, what's important is just accept that you will have that desire and only deal with women in the romantic sense, in the relationship sense, in the dating sense, who feel the same about you. And if they think their sex is worth more than yours, then you should not deal with them. Few men have the power to walk away, or the strength or the confidence to walk away. But that's how you should do it. Your goal should not be to get the woman. Your goal should be to preserve your integrity and your self-respect and let only the right woman be in your life. Only the right woman will experience the sexual side of you. And to be fair, women understand this. Women understand this. But we have to understand that as well. So that's one of the traits that we've discarded and only, let it out when it comes to what adult movies and stuff like that, artificial things. No. We have to actually accept our desires. And like I said, you have to learn how to take care of your own needs first. Don't take 3 days to help a woman work on a project when you've not finished your project. Don't do it. I know it will fall on deaf ears for a lot of guys, but the few who listen, don't do it. And I've seen it many times, and it always baffles me. It always baffles me. Just don't do it. So let's summarize what we've spoken about today. We ask ourselves the question, do women hate good men? We've not answered it yet. I'm going to answer. And why do women love serial killers? So we spoke about the dynamic where a guy thinks that by giving a woman what he thinks she wants, by doing favors for her, by providing for her, by protecting her, he is being good. And she will somehow reciprocate that desire. But the crazy thing is, most good guys have to work very hard for the woman's affection. Sometimes it's called courting. And yet we see those same women go out half naked, to a Chris Brown concert and act completely different from the way they would act with the good guy, right? We see women writing thousands of letters, millions watching serial killer documentaries with eagerness and interest and saying, yeah, he's kind of hot. But you never see them saying, oh, he's such a good guy. Let's go camp on his lawn and throw our panties at him because he's such a great guy. No. You might hear, oh, you're such a nice guy. You make some woman very happy one day, one very lucky woman. Just not her. She doesn't want to be the lucky one. She wants to be the unlucky one who ends up with the serial killer. So do women hate good men? I would say they dislike them for sure. They resent them. And eventually they do end up hating them. Not because they are good, but because they are not good to themselves. Because they don't value themselves as men, first and foremost. And they don't understand one simple secret of what every woman expects from a man. And that is the secret that the so-called bad guys, the bad boys, seem to understand. And what's that secret? We will analyze that, but again, look at the reality of what goes on. You never hear women saying, that guy is so good, he turns me on. But we always see women getting turned on by bad guys. So everybody who's in a sexless marriage is usually the good guy. The so-called bad guy would dump her or cheat on her or just let her know that, look, if you're not sleeping with me, I'm going to sleep with someone else. I'm going to sleep with other women. Right? So they don't go sexless for 15 years like some choose to do. So what's that secret that the bad guys understand, or the so-called bad guys? Well, I'll just touch on a little bit here today because we're about to end this. And by the way, if you need help with your UK family court case, or you just need to talk about any of these things, you can get in touch at bravefathers.com and we'll take it from there. We'll do all we can to help you. You know, when I was starting my family court case, a lot of people helped me. I remember one lawyer, especially, who sat me down for free, didn't take any money. Many did actually, but he actually told me a lot about the bias and the discrimination that fathers face in family courts and how the courts actually tend to favor women. He told me a lot of that in advance. So even though I was still in shock when I went to court, I had a lot of information that helped me to win eventually. And on occasion where it went wrong, I was able to also win the appeal case. I was able to appeal and get the order that I was looking for. So being armed with the right information can save your life and can save the access you have with your kids. So I always offer every guy who gets in touch with me a full, free, no obligation, no strings attached consultation as a way of giving back. And of course, if you decide to become a client, that's of course great. And I'm always happy to help any way I can. But back to the topic. So one of the secrets that these guys understand is similar to men, women are not allowed to really, fully, completely express their sexual desires in public. And they are not allowed to do that because they also get judged for that, right? And in fact, most women know that the good guys, the so-called good guys who would marry them and take care of them and protect them, would not be interested in them if they knew their true sexual desires and how it really works. So it's not just about the body count, it's about what turns them on about what they really want and what they really crave from a man. So there's a lot more to this topic, and I think it's worth looking into it. I'll see you again next week. In the meantime, come meet me at bravefathers.com.